In this video, we're going to look at how to label an IV bag. We understand that a bag would be labeled if it's going to be infused by gravity because gravity does not have a pump to alarm if something has gone wrong. We also understand that the picture here, this strip right here, would be tape, which would allow us to write on that tape before we start the IV. So we're not really writing on a bag of fluid. So I'm going to use a red pen so that it shows up here, but often we associate a red pen with something that's wrong. This is not wrong. This is what we're doing, but I want this to be contrast. So the IV is started at 02:30, and so we see we're using the 24-hour clock or the military time. And so that is the start time. And you can put the start time one of two places. So you can put it here at the top, so 02:30. And when we start the IV, the fluid level will be the entire way up at the 0 milliliters have infused. So I often will put this 02:30 at the 0 because it just helps me keep track of where the fluid level is going to be. We are to label the bag hourly. So we understand that when it's infusing at 125 milliliters per hour, that means every hour, so as time goes up by 1 hour, milliliters is going to change by 125. So looking at the way that the bag is calibrated or the tape is calibrated, I see that the marks are every 50. So going down here, I have 50, 100, so 125 would be just past the 100. Now, a calculator is really helpful if you have one. So in my calculator so far, I have infused 125, and then I can simply add 125 because I'm running the IV for an additional hour. So that will take me up to 250. So my next marking of the bag, another hour's worth of progress, another 125. I can continue doing this. So I put 125 on my calculator. That gets me to 375. So in an additional hour, here's 350. The fluid will be at 375. And I keep going. So I put 1 plus 125. And that will take me up to 500. So again, one more hour, 125 more milliliters. Plus 125 takes me to 625, which would be right here before we get to 650. Add 125, takes me to 750. And this work that I'm showing here in the red to the side of the IV bag is work that you would want to be doing on your calculator if you cannot do it in your head. So if you can just add 125s in your head, go for it. If you can't, grab your calculator and type this in every time, and your calculator is going to be telling you where to put that next mark. And so I add 125 one additional time, and that gets me to 1,000. Now, this is a 1,000 milliliter bag. We saw that at the beginning. So that means that the bag is going to finish. So I put an arrow to show that the remainder will finish out in that remaining hour. So the first thing that I have done so far is I labeled the start. Time. And the second thing I've done is I've marked every 125 milliliters. Now, it is a rate though. So if 125 milliliters infuse into the patient, an hour of time goes by. So the next thing I do is I come through and I mark the hours. So the hours start with 2:30. And so one tick mark down, 125 milliliters will take me to 3:30. And I just keep counting. So 04:30, 05:30, 06:30, 07:30, 08:30, 09:30, and then we have this arrow because the rest of it will finish, and we said it will finish in exactly 1 hour because there's exactly 125 to go. And so I put 10:30 as the ending time at the bottom of my strip of tape. So that's how I do that one. And now I am going to take time to do the next one. And so for the next one, start time here is 20:30. So I can put that at the start time. And I find it helpful to put that at the 0 because that's where the fluid level is at the beginning of this IV. This time my hourly rate is 150. That means I'm going to mark off every 150. I really encourage you to pause the video here and try this on your own. So you're just going to go down every 150, put a mark there so that you know where to label. So 150s are a little bit easier to mark than 125. So here is 150, put a mark. Plus another 150 is 300, put a mark. Plus another 150 is 450, put a mark. Plus 150 is 600, put a mark. Plus 150 is 750, I mark that. Plus 150 is 900, I mark that. If I take on my calculator 900 plus 150, that gets me at 1050, which is greater than the IV bag because the IV bag is only 1,000. So I am going to put my arrow down, but because this is over the IV bag, it is not going to infuse another 150. This is not going to happen. So my marking was at 900. The IV bag is 1,000. So if I take 1,000 minus 900, I have 100 mLs to go. And I need to figure out the time with that 100 mLs. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start dimensional analysis with 100 mLs. That's the piece I know, put it over 1. I am able to cancel mLs because I have a rate of 150 mLs per 1 hour. So I set that up, cancel my mLs. But I already realized that it's going to be less than an hour because it's less than 150. And so I'm going to convert to minutes right away. So putting on the bottom 1 hour is 60 minutes. Hours cancel. I do my math. Let me skip over here. So I'm going to take 100 times 60, divide by 150, and my calculator tells me that that is 40 minutes. So that means it's going to take 40 minutes for the last 100 mLs. All right, so now I'm going to come through and put in my timing. So I've done my labeling here. I've put the start time on. I've marked every, in this case, 150 mLs. And now I have to mark the hours. So I just keep counting, 21:30, 22:30, 23:30. Now this one is making me switch days. The next timing would be 24:30, which is not a legitimate time because that would have started the next day. So I'm half hour after midnight, which is 00:30. And then I count into the next day. So 01:30, 02:30. And now I know that this last bit is going to take me 40 minutes because I already have done that math. I figured out that there was 100 milliliters to go, which is going to take less than an hour. I did dimensional analysis to figure that out. So I have to take 20:30 as a time and add 40 minutes. Excuse me, I want to take 02:30 as a time and add 40 minutes. So in my brain, this is what's going on. First thing I'm going to do is add 30 minutes because that's going to get me to exactly 0300. Get me to the next hour. But I'm supposed to add a total of 40, so then I actually add 10 more minutes, and doing that will give me a completion time of 0310. So the first one, marking off the 125s, is a little bit more complicated, but you can use your calculator. The second one, marking off 150s, was easy. However, down here, When we added that last 150, we went over the total volume of the bag, which is why I crossed that out. And I did the subtraction to figure out exactly 100 milliliters was left. I did dimensional analysis right here at the bottom to convert, cancel the milliliters, cancel the hours, and I got an answer of 40 minutes. And so as I put in the hours, I then had to add 40 minutes to figure out the completion time for the second IV bag.